Well, hello people. Welcome to the town of Lanesborough, beside the River Shannon here in County Longford, on the north side or northwest side of Lough Ree. Okay? Stay tuned, my friends. People, here we are in Lanesborough in County Longford. Okay, so let's go out and we'll investigate Lanesborough and have a cup of tea, of course, in some cafe or something, right? Stay tuned, my friends. Right people, let's first go over and investigate this lovely church here, right? I love churches, right? But I'm not religious, my friends, right? And that might be a surprise to some people, that might offend some people, but I'm not religious, people. Okay? Let's go and investigate here. Hi. Right people, it's a beautiful and simple architecture in that church. Right people, I'm going over here because look at this estate over here, and look at this lovely greenway, the trees here, little park, you know. Look at the daffodils on the trees, aren't they gorgeous? But look at this house over here. Look, I've never seen a house like this, a rounded house, look, a round house with a kind of rotunda type look, a round roof on it. Look, isn't that lovely? I stopped a local woman there and I said, excuse me, is that a museum there? She started laughing. She said, no, that's someone actually lives there. It's their home. And she said, you're taking pictures. I said, I'm on YouTube. She started laughing. Very nice woman, actually. Look, there's some information here too. Let's read some of this information here. So it's about Lanesborough, right? So look, this is Lough Ree. So there's Athlone. Now I always call Athlone the centre of Ireland, but it's close enough to the centre of Ireland, right? I have a video from Athlone, my friends. Now I'm up here, look, Lanesborough. That's Lough Ree, and the River Shannon comes into Lough Ree and continues onwards, right? So here's about Board Namona, which would be in a turf development board, right? So as you can see, in 1934, the Irish Free State government formed the Turf Development Board to develop Irish peatlands, and in 1946 it became Board Namona. In 1946 work commenced on the Longford group of bogs, Mount Dillon, Derryghan and Derry Arrogue bogs. The drainage and development of the bogs were the first jobs to be tackled prior to production. A permanent rail network was laid on the periphery of the bogs, which provided the main arteries from the bogs to the sales outlets. In 1949, the first bagger arrived on the boglands of Mount Dillon. The principle of the bagger was to scoop up peat from all levels of the bog, mix it in a macerator, emit it onto a conveyor belt and distribute it in rows for miles on the bogland. In the early years, sod turf was produced by hand during the summer months, and over 800 were employed in this annual activity. During the 1960s, production changed from sod turf to milled peat production, which required a more mechanised system. A rail bridge was constructed across the Shannon in 1956 to link the Mount Dillon and Derry Arrogue bogs. This was the first bridge to be constructed across the Shannon in over 100 years. In 1956, the ESB built a sod-fuelled power station in Lanesborough. This was the beginning of a commercial relationship between ESB and Board Namona, which continues to the present day. Initially, Board Namona built large hostels throughout the country to house the workers. Mount Dillon, the last to be built, was opened in 1951 to provide more permanent accommodation for employees and their families. 3 villages were built in this locality: 22 houses in Derryghan, 64 houses in the Green and 68 houses in Clune Tuskert. Wow, very interesting information there, my friends. So just behind here you'll see that big power station, ESB, that's the electricity supply board, right? See it over here, look. Oh, here's another one of these roadside or village pumps, you know, where you used to get your water years ago before the mains came in all over the country. See this, and lovely, isn't it? And look at this here now, Lanesborough, to a man called Jim Murray, the village blacksmith. So Jim Murray was the blacksmith in Lanesborough during the 1930s, the 40s and 50s, until the horse was replaced by machinery. His forge was located behind A.D. Farrell's supermarket and lounge bar, but he shod all cartwheels at this location. Shoeing a cartwheel involved putting an iron hoop on the rim for protection and support, ensuring a perfect circle for the wheel to turn on. On a nearby chestnut tree, Jim had driven 3 large metal spikes into the trunk close together to form a triangle. Using these spikes, he shaped a length of straight iron to form a circle. Then, heating the ends, he hammered them together while glowing hot, forming an unbroken hoop. Close by was a large circular concrete flag with a hole in the centre for the hub of the cartwheel to fit, allowing it to sit evenly. The close proximity of the pump meant that a constant supply of water was at hand for controlling the heat. The newly shaped iron hoop was then placed on a few small stones on the ground and sods of turf piled around it. The circle of fire was lit, and when the hoop was glowing red hot, it was lifted with gripping tongs and placed on the resting cartwheel. It was quickly sledged onto the rim and several buckets of water poured on to prevent the wooden wheel from catching fire. The shrinking iron then tightened its grip around the wheel. Local children would often gather on the green to watch the skilled blacksmith at work, drawn by the fire, the hiss of the water as it turned to steam, and the metallic odour of the iron rim as it cooled on the cartwheel. The village blacksmith. Under a spreading chestnut tree, the village smithy stands. The smith, a mighty man is he, with large and sinewy hands, and the muscles of his brawny arms are strong as iron bands. I don't know about you people, but I found that very interesting, I have to say. There's the local credit union here in Lanesborough. Now, go down somewhere and get a cup of tea. There's Laura's beauty salon across the road here. Not my sister. My youngest sister is called Laura, actually. So, I love that idea, people, on top of the stone wall, putting in flowers on top. It's lovely, isn't it? Look at that, and they're gorgeous. Look at them, isn't they lovely? There's a gorgeous stone, two-storey stone house here on the corner of the street. They're lovely. So here's some more information from Longford Tourism about Lanesborough here, right? So it's saying, Lanesborough has the ancient name of Ballyleague, which translates as Ford of the Flagstone, as it was a crossing point on the river. The town is divided in two by the River Shannon. The portion of the town on the western side of the river lies in County Roscommon. The eastern side of the river in County Longford, because known as Lanesborough, following the granting of Rathcline Castle and lands to Lord Lane on the 24th of August 1664 by King Charles II in recognition of his loyalty to the Crown. Lord Lane was grandson of Captain George Lane, who came to Ireland during Elizabeth I's reign and married the daughter of Cormac O'Farrell. The town has seen many battles and invasions over the centuries, from the time the Vikings first started invading Ireland from the 9th to 11th century. The churches and monasteries were plundered and robbed several times during this period. These raids prompted the first bridge to be built in the town's defence against these raids. On the morning of the Fair Day in Lanesborough in February 1702, the ferry carrying 46 people and their Fair Day goods capsized. 35 of those on board drowned. A stone bridge was then built in 1706 as a result of this tragedy. The Lane coat of arms was carved in the bridge after the Right Honourable Lord Viscount Lanesborough gave £100 towards the bridge. Now people, you know something? Only I'm after reading that there and hearing about that tragedy, crossing over the Shannon here, and many died, 35 of those on board drowned, right? I never would have known that happened, you know what I'm saying? So here's Longford, there's Longford town there, people. And where am I now? There's Keena. Termon Barry, I have a video on that, people. Here I am here, look, there's Lanesborough. Okay, so that's South Longford, my friends, it's saying. I just can't believe people, I'm walking around here with no coat and no hat. Mad stuff. Look at this here, this must be to do with the IRA, look. Yeah. So Sinn Féin, right? Volunteer Martin Horson, there's a picture from there. 1954 to 1981, dedicated in honoured memory to Volunteer Martin Hudson, Kappa Dungannon, County Tyrone, who died the 13th of July 1981 after 46 days on hunger strike, aged 26 years. Greater love than this no man had, that he laid down his life for his friends. It is not those who can inflict the most, but those that can suffer the most who will conquer. 1981-2006. Tyrone, Longford, Leinster. Right, it's saying Kappa Dungannon, but I wonder, like, why is that here? Like, is it because, was he originally from Lanesborough here or something? Yeah, so anyway, let's go over and look at this church here, my friends. It looks nice. It says the first burials in this graveyard took place shortly after the departure of the monks in the 15th century. Many of the early grave markings were simple stone markers, some of which can still be seen. As the years progressed, grave markings became more ornate. In the 1800s, there were 3 families of monumental sculptures in the town: the Leavys, the Farrells and the McDermotts. The craftsmen's tradition of these families can be seen in the beautiful hand-carved high crosses and gravestones which exist to the present day. The Levy family are the only remaining family which continue to trade in the town. Unfortunately, people, they don't make churches like they used to, do they? I love the design of them, I have to say, I love it. They're so picturesque. And people, here is Lanesborough Primary School. So for anybody who's not in Ireland, a primary school is a school for pupils, I think, under the age of 12, right? That's the primary school. Right, let's go back down into the, oh, hold on, a bit of information here. We go back down into the town, right? So this church and graveyard traces its origins back to the 5th century, when early Christians established a monastic settlement here, an ideal location close to the River Shannon, at the last crossing point of the river before the great expanse of Lough Ree. The settlement would have consisted of a church of timber construction surrounded by small cells which served as the living quarters of the monks. There's a print of St. John circa 1791. And it's saying here, the bell is one of very few surviving bells in Ireland, manufactured by the Eagle Foundry. Look at this. Following the Battle of the Boyne in 1691, a battle in Lanesborough between troops of King James and King William resulted in extensive damage to the church. It is likely this was the only Church of Ireland church to suffer such extensive damage during this conflict. There's just amazing history, people, all around you, isn't there? There really is. Right, let's go back onto the main street here and look for a cup of tea, okay? So there's a yacht bar here, my friends. Look at this newsagents here, look. It's great to see this, the local shop, you know. Newsagents, lotto, fresh flowers, ice cream, souvenirs, greeting cards. Ah, look at the cushions with the rooster and the hen. Look, the little chicks. Isn't that cool? And look at the one here with the little lambs on the bales and the farm, the landscape and the swallows flying and the two little collie dogs and the flowers. That's lovely. Two VW, well, look like VW vans. Look at this. Aha! A cow teapot, my friends. Look at the little tractors. There's another lovely dormer style house there across the road. It's pretty as hell, isn't it? Look, stone and flowers on the windowsills. It's gorgeous. Here's a coffee shop over here. I wonder if it's open. Go in here, my friends. Sorry. Hello. Right, people, this is a lovely little coffee shop here. And I'm getting tea and a vegetable soup and sandwiches, right? So stay tuned, my friends, right? Right on the main street here, it's lovely. Right, people. That's another lovely little coffee shop there, right? I had the homemade vegetable soup. That's real vegetable soup. It's kind of like a vegetarian place, you know what I mean? I'm going to give it 8 out of 10. The reason why I'm only giving it 8 out of 10 is because she gave me a pot of tea and the pot only filled 1 cup. That was an insult to me, my friends. What's the point in giving you a teapot if you can only get 1 cup of tea out of it? But I feel refreshed now, you know what I mean? Don't feel hungry. That was nice, actually. Check it out, my friends. Look, Strands hair salon, I think it is. The wooden spoon across the road, wherever that is, I don't know. Here's a little fast food takeaway just out here. Look at this house. Look at the flowers they have in the towns, and lovely. There you go now, people. You're looking for takeaway? Try Ping's Oriental Takeaway here in Lanesborough, in County Longford, my friends. What's this here? Lough Ree something. It's a distillery. That square there, people, it's called the Termination Square. No, Terminator Square. So I'm just walking down here now to the entrance to Lough Ree, right? River Shannon, actually. You know that the River Shannon, people, not only is it the longest river in Ireland, but there's no river longer than it in England, Scotland or Wales. So there's a little bit of information for you, my friends. A little bit nippy here. I should have put on my coat, but anyway, it's okay. It's not that bad, really. And you know something, people? There's actually an Irish, there's a song about Lough Ree, right? And only know the chorus of it. Lough Ree, where the three counties meet. Longford, Westmeath and Roscommon. Boom, boom. So I'm in Longford part of it here, right? So three counties, the borders meet on Lough Ree out here, right? Oh, look at this, isn't this deadly? Look. Little kind of a pond area for ducks. Hello. Kind of duck you are, I've no idea. Hello. Hello, ducks. How are you doing? Are you well? Are you the geese? Are you geese or ducks? No, geese, aren't you? Yeah, I know. Don't attack me now. Yeah, I hear you giving your guff. Don't you give your guff to me. You geese always think you're guard dogs or something. You're dickheads. Do you know that? Yeah, you're dickheads. Dickheads, my friends. Hello, Mr. Goose. Yeah, hello. What's the crack? What's the story? Tell me the story. Don't push your luck now. Don't push your luck at me now. Don't push your luck at me, even though I'd run 100 miles if you came after me. Why are you so what's the word? Volatile or something? You're dickheads. Yeah, you're dickheads. If I go in there and you'd chase me, wouldn't you? You'd chase me, because you think you're a guard dog. Don't you? Yeah. Hello, lovely ducks. Hello, little friends. Now, yous are dead on, but these guys, the geese, yeah, people, geese are dickheads, I swear to Jesus. They'll chase you. Right. So there you go, people. That's into Lough Ree here now, which is part of the River Shannon, of course. And that's under the bridge there is heading north or northwest. River Shannon continues up that way, my friends. We'll have a walk along the River Shannon and the northern end of Lough Ree here. It's lovely. Look at the rushes out there, they're gorgeous. So here's another little memorial, if you want, to that ferry boat tragedy. Look, the ferry boat tragedy. In February 1701, a ferry carrying 46 passengers from Ballyleague to the fair at Lanesborough capsized opposite this site. 35 people drowned. This stone is erected to their memory and to remember all who have lost their lives in these waters. Commissioned by Shannonside Heritage Group and Lanesborough Tourism Co-op, 2008. And as I said, only for I'm here today, I never would have known about that tragedy come back in 1701. You know, so it's amazing, isn't it? Tragedies happening all over the place that we know nothing about. Our life's a bit kind of funny, isn't it, at times? People, here's a lovely seat here to sit down on, isn't it? Look, and it's in memory, of course, of someone deceased, right? It says, look, loved always, Margaret and Brian Taverner, Brimmer. Those we love don't go away. They walk beside us every day. Unseen, unheard, but always near. Still loved, still missed, and still with us here. This bench is very special and remains a very important and precious part of many lives who knew Margaret and Brian, our mum and dad, grandma and granddad, brother, sister and friend. All our love, Andrew, Wendy, Catherine and Ian. Now that's lovely, isn't it? I think I've said it before in other videos, I think this is a brilliant idea. You know, have a bench that people like me or I can sit down on, and you can read about people that are deceased, that are gone, that I never knew, right, but who existed and had a life, you know what I mean? And, you know, just, you know, keep them in my thoughts for while I'm sitting here, you know what I mean? Yeah, I think it's a lovely thing to do. Right, people, I'm going to go across the bridge here, across the River Shannon, and there's a marina over there, right? Some lovely houses along there as well. So let's go and investigate that, my friends, okay? Stay tuned. I'm totally chilled here today, my friends, totally chilled. Here's some pictures and information about this bridge. I'm not going to read it all here, look, but look at the black and white pictures, look. This must have been them constructing the bridge, is it? No, loading timber onto boats at the bridge in the early 20th century. And this one here, view from Ballyleague, showing the bridge circa in 1950. And look at the two cars, the old cars there, see that? You had to be well off, people, going back then to have a car. My family wouldn't have been well off to have a car. Actually, my mum and dad never had a car, never. It's the mad thing, people, about borders, right? Just that side of the bridge, I'm in County Longford. And now, all of a sudden, this side of the bridge, I'm in County Roscommon. And I'm in a place called Ballyleague, right? Just says, welcome to Roscommon, Ireland's hidden heartlands, right? Look, people, another derelict property. Mad, isn't it? Now, there's a couple of nice looking houses down along here, I think. Here's one here that looks nice. The Big Tree Library. Now, okay, most of the wind comes from the west, but look, there's no doors on it. Boots to get wet there, but it's a cool idea, isn't it? Look at this. Mosaic, look. People, here's another big information sign here, right? As you can see, wars and warriors. So now all of a sudden that I'm over here on the other side of the Shannon in County Roscommon, I am now in the province of Connacht, right? Ireland is divided into 4 provinces, right? Connacht over here to the west, right? And here's all information about Queen Maeve, right? Viking warrior, 9th to 10th century. Look, loads of information here. Loads of information about Queen Maeve too, the Iron Age warrior queen of Connacht, right? I'm not going to read it all. Here's more stuff about Vikings invasions. The Elizabethans maintained a galley on the lake to search out Irish rebels and enforce the registration of all vessels on the lake, right? I'm not going to go and read any more about that, but if you're come over this side of the river and you want to read about history from here, it's all there, people, on that information sign, okay? Look at this, people, from Waterways Ireland, like, look at all it's saying the Lough Ree and River Shannon biodiversity. Look what you have here. You got the bulrush, you have the common frog, yellow water lily, water germander. It's not gorgeous, look. You have the mallard duck, you have the great crested grebe, you have Greenland white-footed goose, cormorant. What's this here? Oh, the mute swan, perch, rudd, tench, brown trout, pike, and otters. And what's this here called? Common Rush, is that what it's called? This one, right. Then over here you have the orange tip butterfly, never seen one of them. The yellow iris, the swift, the sparrowhawk, you got hazel, you got the snipe, you got the curlew, you got the water rail, which I don't think I've seen that type of bird. Cuckoo pint, look, looks like tomatoes, doesn't it? Bird's nest orchid, Da Benton's bat, a ruddy darter dragonfly. God, it'd be lovely to see one of them to get a picture of, wouldn't it? A willow herb, the red arm, I've seen loads of them. Alder butchthorn, marsh orchid, silver birch, purple moorgrass, look, the grey heron, the lapwing, and a mink. Amazing all the animals, the nature that's around us, people. Oh, this is great, people. Just walking around here at my leisure, strolling and, you know, not being stressed out. Makes a hell of a difference, my friends, I'm telling you now. This is like a cleansing for the mind. Now, people, here's another huge big property here that's abandoned, right? And again, that's what I'm saying. We have over 15,000 and rising homeless people in our country. Majority of them are living in hotel accommodation and various other accommodation, right? Lots of them probably would have had homes and lost jobs and couldn't pay their mortgages and stuff like that, right? And just, people actually said to me, oh, it's not that bad. They're not really homeless. They're living in a hotel bedrooms. And I turned around and said to them people, I says, are you for real? Are you for real? I says, so you mean tell me it's okay for a family sending their children to school, to the local school, and you know, if you say, where are you living? Well, we live in a hotel bedroom, right? And you think that's not going to be bothering even, you know, the mental health of the parents living in a hotel accommodation, you know? And yet you have these properties, you have 1,000 more properties vacant all over this country, and yet we have 15,000 and rising homeless people in our country. Disgraceful, my friends. Look at this here, look at abandoned. Isn't it lovely? Thatched roof on it that's kind of falling apart there. But it's lovely, isn't it gorgeous? Look. There's another building, people, look, that was called the Lifeboat Bar, right? Look, it's completely closed up. There's another sign up here. You'll see these all over Ireland as well on poles and stuff. Like Jesus said, I am the way, the truth and the life. John 14.6. Read your Bible. So that probably is from born agains, right? Right, people, that's the whole thing about the river, about Lough Ree and the River Shannon. I'll read some of this, okay? So, navigation. The River Shannon is the longest river in Ireland, running over 360 kilometres from the Shannon Pot in County Cavan to the sea at Limerick. The river is navigable for most of its length, from Lough Allen to Limerick. and provides one of the most peaceful waterways in Europe. Testimony to this is a large amount of international visitors which it attracts on cruising holidays. And here is about the Viking era, right? So it's saying the Vikings who visited these islands were mainly Danish and Norwegian. They, what's that? Appeared, that doesn't sound like appeared, it's spelled wrong, is it? Off the coast of Northumbria in England in 793 AD, where they invaded St. Aidan's Monastery at Lindisfarne. They arrived in Ireland in 795 and carried out hit and run raids around our coasts during the summer months up until 841, returning to the homeland for the winter period, bringing back all they could plunder along with slaves. In 841 they established their first overwintering settlement at Dublin, or Difflin as they knew it. Just a year later, in 842, the River Shannon provided a route for the longships and the infamous Viking warrior Turgesius and his wife Ota to invade Clonmacnoise. He was subsequently lured to Lough Owel near Mullingar, where he was drowned by the Irish king Malachy around 843. Another Viking king from the Limerick fleet made his appearance on Lough Ree in 933. According to the annals of the Four Masters, he was known as Amlaib Cian Kerich, or Olive of the Scabby Head. We know that he moved his longboats north into the Erne system before returning back to his base on Lough Ree in 936, where he continued to plunder and pillage the surrounding countryside, much to the annoyance of the Dublin Viking king Olar Gottfridsson. The Dublin Viking king captured Scabby Head after a battle on Lough Ree in August 937 and took him as prisoner back to the capital. In 1802, two large hoards of Viking treasure weighing more than 5 kilograms were discovered on Hare Island in South Lough Ree. The hoard consisted of 10 gold arm rings, and these is regarded as one of the largest finds of Viking treasures anywhere in the world. Sadly, all were melted down for their precious metal content, but not before they were recorded and illustrated for the Society of Antiquaries of London. Isn't that a shame? The bloody English then in 1802 melted all that down. The treasures. Mad stuff, my friends, mad stuff. Here's a tourist map, people, of the County Roscommon that I'm in now, right? And look, there's so much stuff to see here too, visit here as well. And you see this, look, Rathcrogan. That was the fort, they reckon, going back to Queen Maeve's time, right? And those two men that was in that Carlia Visitor Centre, right, were on about that oak 2,000-year-old roadway. Well, they have, it's a theory they have that it went in a straight line from here, which is very, very important in the province of Connacht, right? Rathcrogan, right, in a straight line all the way across. How you doing? Like all the way across to Carlia Trackway and on towards, what do they call it again in Irish, in County Westmeath, the hill, Slieve Uckna or something. Like, just as important as the Hill of Tara, if not even more important, do you know what I mean? So that's why they're thinking it wasn't just, that roadway wasn't just built as a kind of to get your cattle across the bog to fields, that it was a big undertaking, you know what I mean? Probably done by some of these people, the kings or whoever it was way back in those days, my friends. Oh, people, this marina here is closed off, look. It's a pity. 'Cause I love looking at boats, you know. That's another thing I like looking at, is boats. Right, Peter, I think I'll just walk back across the bridge, across the River Shannon, back into County Longford, and, you know, I don't know, I think I have a cup of tea left in my flask, actually. Or I might just go in somewhere for another cup of tea or something. Okay, so stay tuned, my friends. Right, people, I'm crossing back across the bridge across the River Shannon here into Lanesborough, right from Ballyleague this side in County Roscommon to this side here in County Longford, right? Isn't it just bullshit, isn't it? Realistically, you know, there's people like, you know, they're really proud. If they're standing over there, they go, I'm a proud Roscommon man. And then if they're standing down there, they're going, oh, I'm a proud Longford man, right? And the whole thing is bullshit. These borders, you know, county borders, provinces, states, countries. Like, just imagine for a minute, right? Say over here is Russia and over there is Ukraine, right? And the dickhead who runs this here, Putin and his cronies, right? They want this back and people are being killed. Young men, really, mainly. There's women as well, but mainly young men. For what? For territorial pissings, my friends. And has been going on and on and on from when we came out of Africa and, you know, even before that, you know what I mean, wherever we bloody came from. And it's never going to change, my friends, unfortunately. Well, let's go for a cup of tea. Isn't that gorgeous? Actually, that's a gorgeous house down there. Look at the driveway. It's lovely. I love the roof on it. The tiles on the roof are gorgeous. Look at the lovely stone wall here. I think that's fantastic. Look. This is a new house here. It's lovely. Townhouse. Girls, if you're looking for your hair done, there's Mag's Hair Salon. Look, 043 332 1440. Right, check out Mag's now in Lanesborough. Get your hair done. I heard she's great. Right, people, here's somebody who's writing about Lanesborough in the 1940s, right? And it's on about like the main street 1940s. From the house to the school on the hill, it took 10,000 steps. At the sundial on the bridge, I could stand in two provinces at one time. Lanesborough came alive at 8:30 a.m. each morning, with the postman on his rounds and shops opening their doors. As I crossed the bridge, I was greeted by Nurse Donlan, who ran a newsagent, sweet and tea shop. She delivered the new babies in the parish. Next door was McGettrick's, a drapery shop, and Macran's, the biggest shop in the town, which stocked sugar and spice and all things nice. It had a large ballroom where dances and concerts were held. The Northern Bank had windows which were too high to see in. The McGuinnesses had a farmyard with a stable door in the shape of a giant horseshoe and wicked gander. A small sweet shop, Kelly's, was next door to the Lough Ree Arms, owned by River Shannon. Levy's shop sold suits, hats and boots. The Caseys ran a thriving butcher shop, and our neighbours, the Ryans, had a newsagent, a horse-drawn carriage for funerals, and the town's first petrol pumps. Houses still stand by the old quarry gate. In the cycle of life, time will not wait. The shops have changed hands, and their owners at rest. Their assistants have travelled, they were some of the best. They have settled elsewhere as fate meant it to be, but someday they'll return to the shores of Lough Ree. Isn't it nice to have those little, I don't know, information or stuff? It's nice, you know, from way back. Someone able to tell a story about his day walking down the street in Lanesborough in the 1940s. Very good. Right, people, I'm going to go in here to J. O'Brien's newsagents for a cone, right? Hello. Hello. A 99, have you got 99? Yeah. Good man. There's a cone. It cost me €2.90. Isn't it lovely? I'm going to sit down here actually. In the local shop here in Lanesborough, that's not a big multinational like Tesco's or, you know what I mean? Enjoy my comb, people, and just people watch. Right, people, so that's it from Lanesborough here in County Longford, right? And across the river into County Roscommon and a place called Ballyleague, okay? Nice town, right? I enjoyed the tea, even though I only got one cup of tea out of a teapot. Don't insult me, my friends in cafes, by giving me a teapot that only gives me one cup of tea, right? Yeah. So I enjoyed my little trip here to Lanesborough, my friends, beside the River Shannon at the northern end of Lough Ree, right? I hope you enjoyed it too, right? So if you liked the video, my friends, please press the like button. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, it's free, right? And as usual, my friends, I've absolutely no idea where my next video is going to come from, but it's going to come from somewhere. So stay tuned, my friends, and check in for next Sunday after 5 p.m. The videos are always uploaded after 5 p.m. Most of the time, though, could be a lot after 5 p.m, okay? But take care, my friends, and keep safe. Bye.